What is up, Titans? Welcome to my Season 4, Episode 5 breakdown, recap, and review. And as I said at the end, or not the end, all the way throughout the last review, this is the beginning of the end, and I think you can tell why with the very ending of this episode. Things are very much so propelling forward to the point of what I've been saying for quite a while. Like, sure, this season is a bit of a slow burn at the beginning, but I think that's naturally paving that development for Sebastian Sanger to have his villain origin story, of which we've known about this whole entire time. You need to build it up, as I always say. Having a black and white villain to be like, I'm gonna destroy the world with Trigon for no apparent reason other than I'm evil, isn't necessarily the best way to go. Sure, you might get some entertaining evil Sebastian at the beginning of the season, but this way we get to build that character up. So, looking forward to see what you guys have to say about this episode. We had some entertaining moments, so thank you so much for clicking on today's video, my fellow Titans. Do go ahead and like it if you go on to enjoy it. Helps grow my channel. And hey, if you're not subscribed, my analytics show that so many of you come back every week, returning viewers, and you aren't subscribed. So maybe today is that day. You'll click that red button. I've got my coffee here, so I'm going to be talking 1,000 words per minute as usual. So let's start right at the beginning. So we see Sebastian Sanger and Rachel, his sister now, which is kind of, weird to say that Raven has a brother. I have to say, Joseph Morgan killed it in this moment with the few scenes that we get of him like this, actually exploring a bit of a conversation with Rachel, and that's quite a pairing, as Joseph Morgan, I believe, has said. He wanted to get that across. He wanted those connective scenes with one other Titan in particular, I guess, to, and what we will see, serve a very kind of profound divide later on. One that I think, no matter what, Brother Blood will be a bit conflicted in, because we've had them forging this connection. So he's always had this dream where he's on a tunnel and it's endless, a void of nothing, and this feels the same. He feels like he's on that train and there is no stopping it. Obviously a little bit of foreshadowing how this season's combining a little bit of fate, prophecy, destiny. They're kind of making it out that even though season 1 had a prophecy of Raven joining with her father Trigon and devouring the world, that was never her destiny. But with regards to this train, there's no stopping it. With Sebastian, the sibling of Raven and the son of Trigon, is obviously symbolizing how this is his fate, this is his destiny, even if he comes across as a good guy, which deep down he is, clearly. There is no perhaps stopping this destiny, which is something I'm very, very, very intrigued in seeing this season. Like, obviously it's going to come to fruition in a roundabout way of speaking, because we've seen the Brother Blood suit, but how could it end? Even though Raven says that you do have a choice, just like I did, I'm just trying to factor in, is destiny, is it really avoidable or not? Can you actually change your fate? Meanwhile, with Tim and Bernard, they're just sat in the surveillance room, and Bernard says, just 6 more hours to keep Sebastian away from that witch and we're more or less good to go. Tim reminds me of Anakin Skywalker in episode 2. He's holding me back! But no, really, he's not quite Jason Todd about it. Thank God, right? But he does feel like he could be doing more. In Gotham, he was on the ground, feeling like he was making a bit of change, and there is understandable reasons. Like, it's the same reason why I've said to all those people like, oh, Titans is lame, Robin doesn't even have a Robin suit. That criticism doesn't even make any sense. Why would you put an inexperienced Titan in a Robin suit? He is also a slow burn, and this is the right way to tackle it. Like, he needs to develop, needs to train. But what I like about this season, and one of the strong suits of it, is that it does actually seem to be taking its time with development. But what I also found interesting as we cut to the Church of Blood, or should I say Temple of Azarath, is that Mother Mayhem, May Bennett's followers, seem to have a little bit of doubt in her vision. Her flock, if you will, are expressing that the blood moon has risen and we have not seen our brother. And she's like, what is my flock saying? The long wait has been in vain. And what I actually liked as well is that instead of, they call him the dissenter, and instead of like chopping his head off for just not being faithful, Mother Mayhem, what I like about her character is, even though she's this evil witch, as Bernard says, and everything like that, she has this belief. She wants her son. She loves him. She wants to bring him to the church. She wants to elevate him up. At least with this character, it's somebody who truly believes what they are doing is, I guess, kind of the right thing to do. That's going to be more reflected with Sebastian, I'm sure, because he has a genuine dream to change the world. But with Mother Mayhem, at least there's this absolute aspect to it in what she's trying to do, and she has this unwavering faith that it's going to happen. And we've had that backed up with freaking context of flashback. She was literally in that prison cell all the way up to 20 2019, I believe it was, just waiting for a son. Coming back to Star Labs, this is where we hear the chant, the sacred chant of Azarath, Metreon, and Zinthos. That's where we have that really cool cinematography, like the camera cuts to the toilet, and the bigger snake, so it's grown a little bit from a little tiny worm snake, all the way into a big python-y kind of one, just coming out and causing quite a bit of problems, as I teased at the end of last episode's review. So this is where they fill the team in. Kory's there, Jinx, everyone, you name it. Jinx says that this snake is that crazy lady's signature move, right? And Kory says could have been the same snake that killed Lex, and I was just thinking, like, didn't Superboy tell you that he lasered the snake? And they deduce the obvious, that the snake is more or less about Mummy's going to use it to get what she really wants, and that is Sebastian. And meanwhile, with Gar and Jinx, again, I'm actually really enjoying the Jinx character. She's kind of bringing this playfulness that just, you know, Gar and Rachel are like that a little bit, but Jinx is a bit more feisty in her nature, right? But in this moment, we get a teeny tiny little bit of a development with Gar's storyline. And it is what we've been saying, the red. You know, there's elemental forces in the DC universe, the green, Swamp Thing, all plant life, but all avatars of the red, like Beast Boy, who can transform into animals, connect to the wildlife side. She knows about this because he teased a tree of bones. She details that it's a place of great power and mystery. As I went over not so long ago, we do know from the source material it has happened that the Brother Blood has really sought the power from the red, so I do wonder if they're going to connect that in this season, and that's why Gar, along with Starfire, it does seem like they're making multiple characters quite significant to the plot. And I also liked Jinx's advice. Instead of like spoon-feeding him, she says only the most boring people know what's at the other end. Sometimes you have to go in blind and figure it out, and I think that's actually a good piece of life advice. We can always, you know, shy away and be scared of things and whatnot, but sometimes you just have to go in the deep end and just kind of maneuver your way out, and that's the only way you'll get to go from point A to B to C. Around about this time, Superboy is in some more agony, and we hear a little bit of rustling from the snake, and basically this leads to a scene with Raven and Sebastian. They're looking at Superman merch. There's like Superman Monopoly there, and that's when Superboy comes along, not quite as himself, and says that Dick asked me to take over. Now, in between this scene, we have Dick and Kory talking about how Kory's people, the Tamaranians, would have preferred to take the more ugly option, just to be on the safe side, which is a bit savage, obviously. What was surprising was to hear Kory say, maybe we need to reconsider things. Sebastian's right here, we may never get this chance again. Now, obviously, the book, the Colt's book, the prophecy, the drawings has spooked her a little bit, but it is just interesting that she brought up, hey, maybe we should actually, like, Sebastian, he's right here. We might not get that chance again. And to be honest, she is right in the long term because he is going to become villainous. But it's still kind of, you know, you did save Rachel. And this is what Dick points out. So you want to take out the one guy we've spent this whole time protecting. We've had worse with Rachel. We'll do the same with Sebastian. But what I found interesting right after this, Kory's response was, but what if Sebastian is not like, and then like she didn't finish the sentence, because that's when Raven comes out to the vending machine and they're just like, you're not supposed to be here, what the hell's going on? But it is basically, I think, symbolizing what the difference is here. As Kory said, but what if Sebastian is not like blank? And that is basically that even though Raven was intended to be, as we got in the organization flashbacks, they wanted the baby to be a girl. That's why they took Sebastian away, because he was a baby boy. It wasn't a part of the prophecy. And Raven was different. She literally yeeted her father back into his interdimensional realm, right? But Sebastian, as Kory said, what if he's not like Raven? And it's kind of the sad thing, because he seems like a nice guy, but this is where the whole destiny talk comes in. He just might not be like that. Does he get a choice, or does destiny and fate dictate this? And ultimately, he might not be like Raven because we know he's going the Brother Blood route. But again, what I'm most interested in is that even though, yes, we're going to get a bit of a villainous route for him, he's going to get the Brother Blood suit and everything like that, he will rise. But at the very, very end, will he be the one to kind of try and take, but you know, Darth Vader style, throw the Emperor down the freaking ventilation shaft of the Death Star kind of thing? Will it be something like that where he just still kind of tries to redeem it? That's what I'm wondering about. Now, meanwhile, Superboy and Sebastian, he's leading him out. So, oh, no, yeah, Dick says this is a safer place. Then Mother Mayhem takes over. Superboy's eyes go black and just like, oh, you get more beautiful every time I see you, my son. By the way, though, this is when Dick arrives. He almost gets heat visioned. It's very lucky that Superboy aimed more towards the floor and he did a Nightwing acrobatic flip out the way. Otherwise, if he would have gone a little bit in the midline sight, he would have been... Without Jinx, we might have been screwed in this moment because Connor gets completely KO'd again. Kryptonians are very weak to magic, as Jinx keeps teasing this season. Either way, they go to the Elko Diner. Kory goes to play her song, and it, somehow bubbles them into the metaphysical bubble shield that I said earlier, and thus protects them from the outside forces, such as the Church of Blood and Mother Mayhem. Meanwhile, Mother Mayhem and Gina are trying to track Sebastian with their little crystal-y thing, but they can't feel him because he's within that protection. And this is where we get a really cool scene. Again, this was teased in that very trailer that basically gave away that Mother Mayhem is the mother of Sebastian Sanger. And that's when she reaches out to Trigon saying, "You've forsaken me when I need you. I need our son." She doesn't know what to do at this point. She's under a lot of pressure. And scenes like this, I really do enjoy. But this is where the well of blood starts bubbling. So this is evidently Trigon. He doesn't have so much of a sway because he's literally in another dimension. So he can only kind of like, just kind of fart under the water, I suppose, to give signals to Mother Mayhem. And this is where we don't hear Trigon, but you can kind of guess what he's saying. She says, "Thank you for heeding me." That's not true. And this kind of made me laugh because Trigon's bitching. He's like, "Oh, you love our son more than you love me?" And Mother Mayhem says, "That's not true. I love none more than you. I'm sorry. I never meant to place anyone above my lord." Just kind of stroking Trigon's ego. And she's like, "What shall I do?" And then she hears that basically you need to kill Gina. And she's like, "I understand. Someone has to pay." And that's when someone does pay. And we have Gina come into the room. And for some reason in that conversation with Trigon, he wants Gina dead. I guess it's like a sacrifice, right? But I feel like this episode didn't give enough explanation. I know some people may think I'm nitpicking it, but this is a review trying to be as comprehensive as I can be. Why? Like, why kill Gina? Now, the only conclusion I can come up with, but again, it shouldn't really be up to the fans to kind of think about what's going on. The writers should kind of include exactly what her sacrifice meant, but maybe it is just, through doing that, it kind of allowed Trigon to bless Mother Mayhem with the power to take down the metaphysical bubble shield that the Tamaranians put up over the Elko Diner? Maybe? I don't know. All we know is that Trigon said, "Hey, yeah, kill Gina," and she was like, "Okay," and there you go. Okay. Meanwhile, with Gar at Star Labs, he's freaking out about Superboy. They're worried about what the snake could be doing to him. I love that shot, by the way, where basically Superboy is pregnant on the table, and just the way it's angled and how Joshua Orpin just rises up. It's like, "Hey, Dick." It's just, I don't know. I found that hilarious. So this is where we have his life in danger again. 80% organ failure. We have Superboy take the piss out of Dick when he reassured him that they would save him. He was like, "Save me? Where have I heard that before?" "Oh, why don't we just ask Hank?" That's what he told him, right? Right before he died, which is... That's a burn. But long story short, this is where the idea is conjured that Gar could turn into a virus because they wanted something small enough that could go in Connor's body to kind of counteract what's going on. I guess they could have used nanotech, but, it's way cooler having Gar turn into, out of all the animal transformations that people have wanted this season, I don't think anyone expected Gar to turn into an actual virus. It's quite cool how we got some more John Constantine references with, the ground teeth of a Baba Yaga. We got Niles Calder, a reference there. Obviously, Beast Boy came from Doom Patrol, even though that seemed to be a different Earth, but on this one, he still came from Doom Patrol since they're now referencing Niles Calder. Either way, though, there is quite a big risk on the table because if Superboy dies, then so does the virus, because, the virus can't survive outside the host body. But things do get messy. Connor starts fitting. He gets hit with adrenaline, which is, again, just to show you how powerful those kryptonite cuffs are. His skin is no longer impenetrable to, I don't know, bullets or just needles and stuff like that. He starts throwing up blood, and this is when he throws up the snake. I do think it's very lucky that he survived because, Lex Luthor threw up that snake. Other people did, they died. And in this point, with those kryptonite cuffs on, if stuff can penetrate Connor's skin, then arguably he's very weak. So yeah, very, very lucky that his body managed to sustain that when it seemed like he was more or less depowered to just human level. This is where Tim kills the snake. And again, on my bullet points, I say. So again, in this moment, I'm thinking, why couldn't Sebastian stay in the vault? Now back at the Elko Diner, we have Sebastian and Rachel getting on very, very well. Sadira notices that they're thick as thieves. She's still very much so trying to hammer this in through saying, look, I've seen the end of days, you must see it as well. And as much as I love this vision, let me get that very, very, very clear to everyone. This was wonderful. Kory getting a vision of what can be. So her daughter with Dick, which is amazing, celebrating their kid's birthday with the other Titans. But again, a similar thing to the zombie thing here. And I don't think this is nearly as a major criticism as what I said about the zombies in the previous episode. But Zadira said he will bring the end of days. I've seen it, you must see it too. And all that signified that is that all the Titans and her child and Dick just disappeared and like she screamed. So I don't know if that really, I felt like they could have done more of this instead of just like having everyone go poof. You know, they could have made everything like bloody and everything red, just horrific. Maybe, you know, a CGI landscape of like the trees. You know that CGI effect when Trigon was walking in season 2, episode 1, and everything was like burning between his feet as if it was like one continuous, you know, fire, world devouring burn. They could have done something like that just to signify how the world will be devoured. But instead, they just kind of made everyone disappear. I know it's meant to be symbolic of, you know, if you don't do this, you'll not only lose all your friends, but you'll also be sacrificing the whole world. But again, I just argue that, yes, it would have cost money, but just, you know, like what, 3 to 5 seconds of just showing really, really fast, distorted kind of camera effects of just everything, you know, burning. I don't know. But this is when we get that moment when Kory kind of lights up her hand with her power, almost like thinks about it, and it's like, I won't hurt you. And Sebastian is very relieved. And I love stuff like this because I'm so fascinated to see this full villainous Sebastian Sanger as Brother Blood and what he's going to remember about each Titan. That's the most fascinating thing to me. I know I keep using that bloody word, but truly, I know he's probably going to get annoyed by the Titans trying to stop him from changing the world and bringing about whatever this change will be, which is, as we know, basically burning the world. So I'm still very interested as to why Sebastian's going to subscribe to that. But he's going to remember Kory cared about him. Kory wanted to save him. His half-sister, Rachel, cares about him, says you can choose a different path. Like, everyone's showing a lot of compassion to Sebastian, so I hope he does remember this. And that's when that battle happens. We have Mother Mayhem come in, so again, I have to think that Gina's sacrifice somehow, like, empowered her to take down the bubble shield, and she took Sebastian because Sebastian threw himself in front of Kory saying, I don't want people to die for me. More to the point of what I was just talking about, how is he going to feel about them in like 3 to 4 episodes time. Now back in Star Labs, we have Tim and Bernard do a bit of kissy-wissy, which is, I know people are still talking about the age difference. We genuinely don't know. Just to state it again, in Titan Season 3, Jay Lacargo said himself that Tim Drake is 16 years old. Bernard clearly isn't 16 years old. Wish somebody official would talk about that, but I think we're basically just meant to forget about it. But yeah, Tim and Bernard, now a thing, was a thing in recent source material, if you will. And yeah, going to be interesting to see where things go with that. And the end of the episode now just basically takes us to the Temple of Azarath. And this was fascinating. I know that's my favorite word, isn't it? But it really was. Because you see Sebastian walk in. Everyone is so accepting of him. They're chanting, Brother Blood, Brother Blood, Brother Blood. And he's never had this kind of adoration before. We know that about this character. And Mother Mayhem says, welcome home. And he kind of looks back, right? But he's kind of got this subtle smile on his face, which is obviously all of this chanting, the spark or the ember that's lighting the fire that will kind of drive his ego, you know, and it's like everything that he's going to experience from now on is just fanning that flame, and the ego is going to get larger and larger and craft the villain that is Brother Blood. But I do want a bit more emphasis on this because, you know, he heard what his father's like in the Titans van, burning the world, all of this, that, and the other. Sure, he's got a bit of adoration here, and he knows that this is his mother, so I'm giving leeway there for that. But I want to know why he truly subscribes to such a diabolical world-ending idea, and I really hope that they convey that. I understand in this moment someone like Sebastian longing to have some kind of connection, saying that we're all so lonely in this world. In this moment's getting a bit of a smirk because, like, holy shit, I must be a big deal. But yeah, I think they need to get into why this Sebastian, who isn't quite there yet as Brother Blood, is going to truly subscribe to such an apocalyptic idea. Maybe it has something to do when he like rinses in the blood pit. Maybe Trigon's influence just kind of unlocks that darker nature to him and it's something more magical like that. But I'd love to know your ideas there. So guys, that is episode 5. All my thoughts on everything that we saw in this episode. I very much so enjoyed this episode. I'm very, very excited to see where things move from here on out because, you know, only one more episode to go until we go on break. And I think, by the way, Titans returns January 19th. Could be wrong about that, but it's not as much of a wait as what I thought we could be getting. I thought it could be coming back February or latest March. But let me know your thoughts on this episode. What did you think about it? What did you think about my thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. And all that's left to say is just thank you so much for watching, and thank you for liking. If you haven't done so, it would mean a great deal if you did. Maybe consider subscribing to stay up to date on all Titans reviews, videos, and updates on other sectors of comic book stuff. As always, links are in the description down below if you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and other places like that. But I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Titans in the next video. Goodbye.